This is the Night Cabler podcast. Through with my guest Roger Cabler. Roger, how are you, my friend?
Oh, good, Brian. Good morning. How you doing?
Good. So let's talk about how me and you first met each other. So tell our viewers how me and you first met. I think it's been a while. We met a few years ago, didn't we? Do you remember how we first met?
Yeah, we did. It was maybe 3 or 4 years ago at Comic-Con in Boxborough, Mass. And I was walking around being crazy, being Robin Williams. And I know there's a picture of us somewhere.
Yeah.
Of us the first time we met. And then we met recently again at the same place. In the same event.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a lot of fun.
So tell me about how did you get your impression? Your impression, Robin Williams' impression, like down, like how were you able to how did you? How was your idea of the impression kind of started?
Well, Brian, I was 17 years old, so that was a little while ago. It was over 20 years ago, and I saw him like everybody 40 years ago. Sorry, on Mork and Mindy, and I was like, oh my God, he reminds me of myself, and I was like. That's what I want to do. And he inspired a lot of people. And I was already doing impressions. I was kind of interested in, pretending I was other people. So it just kind of crept into my repertoire of people. And I studied him. Especially when we, in the computer age, when we have videos and tapes and things we can continue to study. And I just kept studying him. And the next thing I know, it's really in my bones. His whole being is sort of with me, and so it comes pretty naturally, and I don't even consider it an impression anymore. It's just a manifestation of some kind. I don't know how else to put it. It just sounds weird, I guess. I don't know.
So, do you have like his personality traits too? Like, have you heard like some of his jitters or not, or like his jitters?
Yeah, I actually I do. We share several things. I'm a recovering drug addict.
Yeah.
As he was, and I also am bipolar as he was. Although I tend to not be on the depressive side as he was.
Yeah,
I'm more manic. But we share a lot of the same. The more I studied him, the more I realized how we were like brothers. And I never actually met him. I mean, he saw me do an impression of him on TV. Years ago, but I never actually met him, which was interesting,
Did he like the impression when he saw you? Did you think he liked it?
I heard that he did. He got back to me that he really liked it, yeah, which was nice.
It's nice.
It was the year, yeah.
Yeah. So where were you born? Where'd you grow up? Let's get into that a little bit.
Well, I was born in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. I don't remember anything because we were there for 6 months. Then we moved to Framingham, Mass, and I grew up there. And I moved back 8-9 years ago. I moved back to this area after traveling around in Hollywood and New York as an actor and a comedian. I was kind of done, and I was really tired and exhausted and spent. So I just came back here and I became a painter. So I moved into a farmland in Hopkinton, Mass, and next to a lake, and it's a much more peaceful existence.
What are your hobbies these days? You like to do for fun besides impressions? Me too. What are your hobbies these days?
Oh, do you do impressions? Oh, that's right. Well, I am also a painter. When I quit show business, I went into. I'm an artist, so I started doing portraits, and I've been doing that for a while. It's mostly dog portraits, but right now I'm illustrating through children's books. And I still have a very full performance schedule. But my big hobby. I do a lot of canoeing and hiking, but there's a lot of old bottle dumps here in Massachusetts. So sometimes I go out in the woods and I find a dump, and these are dumps that go back to the 1800s. So you find really old, cool stuff, trinkets and toys. And I even found a belt buckle from the Civil War, which was the biggest find I had so far. So really, it's just to get out in nature and dig in the earth and find cool stuff.
So you mentioned.
And then, yeah.
Go ahead. Sorry.
No.
Go ahead.
Well, then I got to go pack it up and go on the road and be Robin. Hey, let's go.
That's right.
And then I come home exhausted because being Robin for an hour a night is exhausting.
So tell me about that movie. Tell me about that movie that you're making, being Robin, or the movie the project. Yeah.
Well, being Robin, the movie is the culmination of my experience after Robin passed away. How traumatized I was initially, and then I felt a calling to bring him back. I couldn't bear that fact that he was gone. I felt so close to him. And something inside of me, whether it was Robin's spirit itself or something in me, propelled me into doing a tribute, which is what I've been doing for 8 years. And then I decided, you know what, somehow or other I need to capture this. I've been doing videotapes of the show since I began.
Yeah.
And people were videotaping it. My manager would now videotape it. And then I had a lot of footage. So I made a movie based on what happened, you know, my experience as a retired comedian. And believe me, Brian, it was not safe for me to go back into show business. I was a serious hope to die drug addict. I had a very serious problem with drugs. I got sober, and I decided to quit show business before it killed me. And so I did that, and I vowed never to go back into show business. But then when Robin passed, and I felt him going, oh, come on, let's go. We're going to get back to work. Let's go. I was like, no, I don't even know what this is. And I didn't know why he was haunting me, but he did. And eventually I said, okay, I tried it. And the next thing I know, I'm doing it on a regular basis, and people are really getting a good experience with it because it sort of, you know, brings back Robin in a certain way. Even some of his friends have commented about how authentic the show, you know, the feeling is. It's cool.
Yeah, it's cool. So you mentioned impressions. I do impressions as well. I do. You know who Gene Simmons is? You have to know who Gene Simmons is, right, from Kiss. You know who he is?
Yeah.
Yeah. When he talks, I'll do a couple. When he talks, he says the band Kiss is a band that does what they want, and they have a plan with money. And the band, you work, you live life, and you work tirelessly to make your work harder. That's my Gene Simmons impression.
I gotta look him up. I know. Did you stick your tongue out a couple times when he does it?
I do it on stage sometimes. Yeah, I do it on stage sometimes when I do it. Yes. So, do you have friends that do impressions too? Do you have a lot of friends that do what you do too?
I don't have any friends. I'm alone. Yeah, I get friends. I mean, I don't know, but impressions. Everybody, I mean, the best high in the world, and I've been sober for 20 years, the best high is laughter.
Yeah.
When you get, like you just made me laugh, when you get together with people, I mean, they do goofy characters and stuff. I don't know too many impressionists. I don't even think that's such a high art as doing impressions. This is kind of a dead end, but I like doing characters. And I certainly enjoyed doing the Robin tribute, but it's a whole different thing. It's not an impression. But no, I don't put that much stock in impressions. I watched how my career dead ended because I really wanted to be a more well-rounded actor. Yeah. But I do enjoy studying people and the way they talk, and certainly people like Anthony Hopkins was very different type of performance, very electric, very high and get it sound like control. And you try to find out why. You try to get into the soul of the being, and that to me is more like acting than doing impressions. So that's really my interest. And I have trouble sounding like people, and my voice is like, but I do. How do you feel? Do you have other friends who do impressions?
Sometimes, yeah. You know who else I do? I don't know if you know who he is. I do. Do you know who Sam Elliott is by any chance?
Yeah, Sam Elliott. Dude.
Yeah.
Oh no, not the dude. He was in the movie.
Yes.
Lebowski,
Yeah. I do his voice really well. I do his voice.
I'd love to hear that.
He says, well, when he talks, well, a lot of movies he does, he always says, "How you doing, kid?" Or instead of just say, "The duty." I can still understand that the portal that you're looking at, the pizza looks so good, don't it? Look too good. The portal is overused. The guy looked at. What's that? Go ahead.
The dude abides. Is that the dude abides?
Yeah. The dude abides. Sometimes the bar, I was thinking he says, a wise man myself once said, the bar, well, it eats you. That's Sam. Now, you mentioned.
What did he do recently? He was in A Star Is Born as the brother, but he was in a TV series called 1893 or something like that.
What was he in that show? What character was he in that show? What kind of a character was he on that show?
Well, believe it or not, he was a cowboy. Go figure.
Yeah.
He's actually taking a bunch of settlers across some hazardous trail, and he was pretty bad. He was a badass.
Yeah. Hey, I want to ask about actor. Do you know who Jack Palance is?
Are you kidding me?
You know who that is?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, he's like Clint Eastwood in a way.
He is.
You know what? one thing, right?
Yeah.
City Slickers.
Yeah.
One thing.
Yeah. City Slickers. Yeah. City Slickers. You know what I know him in? Do you remember Jack Palance in Batman?
Who?
Jack Palance was in Batman. Jack Palance. He was in Batman.
No. In
Yes,
the TV show?
No, with Jim Nicholson.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
He got shot. Carl Grissom. Yeah.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah, Jack Nicholson. I also like when Joker says, "You can call me Joker," and you can see a white hand beard. That's so.
Yeah, I do. I make that face, by the way.
You do the face.
Yeah, Jack Nicholson's face. I sort of looked at that, and it's painful to contain. It's a painful face to make. You have to stretch your mouth wide.
Yeah, I have a question. What do you think happened to Jack? Because I wish he would act more, but whatever happened to him? He kind of like.
Jack is retired. He's too big. He's too. He's just not. He did it. He did it all. I don't think he's. When I say he's too big, I think he's too old. I don't think he has the energy to really do a performance anymore.
No.
Like Brando was performing until he was 80. Not 80, but 75.
75.
And he was gigantic. And Jack's gotten really big, too.
Yeah.
So I think the last great thing he did was about Schmidt. And he played a very different character in that. He was a mild-mannered deer and Dugu. He was a very mild-mannered, good guy who goes on an adventure after his wife dies.
Yeah.
And just a dear character. He wasn't the Jack Torrance that was really dangerous. Wendy put the bat down. Not going to hurt you. That. Yeah. Nicholson.
Now, do you know who Nick Nolte is?
Oh, come on. Are you kidding? What the hell are you talking about?
Yeah.
I know Nick Nolte. Give me a drink. I'm telling you, get all out of here.
You know what I like him in, believe it or not? Did you ever see him in Hulk?
No, I did not see him in the Hulk.
You haven't seen him in Hulk? It's a great movie. Eric Bana's in that one.
That's the movie I didn't see. I actually am not. I'm sorry to tell you.
Yeah.
I don't really watch those kinds of movies.
No?
I did originally see the Tim Burton Batman.
Okay.
And after the sequel, I'm like, and I don't watch the Marvel movies. I saw the original Spider-Man because everybody did.
Yeah.
But I'm really not part of that world. And it's weird, but I'm 60 years old, and I don't really tune in. Believe me, Brian, how old are you, Brian?
27.
Well, you're 27.
Yeah.
So I'm 61. The movies that I love are like The Godfather, Taxi Driver, Midnight Cowboy, from the 70s. A Love Story, the movies that really moved me. And now I like the Goodfellas, like I'm a big fan of Robert De Niro, Al Pacino. Those movies are what, to me, is America's cinema is all about. We've moved into an era of special effects, loud noises, and superheroes, which I don't relate to.
No,
I just don't.
See, it's funny. I'm actually surprised at that. I feel like I didn't in my mind. I envisioned you being like a Marvel fanatic for some reason. My brain went to that for some reason.
No, because I go to Comic-Con, but I'm not going to Comic-Con anymore, and I'll tell you why.
Why is that?
Oh, here we go.
Yeah.
I nearly had a nervous breakdown this last Comic-Con afterward. And I not only had COVID and suffered from exhaustion, but I almost had a nervous breakdown because it was so overwhelming. Yeah. And for running around and doing Robin Williams for 8 hours is very, very tiring. And then doing a stage show where nobody laughs. And I don't know why, because it's the same show for hundreds of people, and people laugh and applaud. Yeah. But people were just staring at me, and I was sweating and hot, and I didn't feel well. I didn't know I had COVID. But I love the Comic-Con thing. It's just not something I can do anymore at my age. No. It's a great way to network, but the way I do it and what it costs me, I'm actually very nervous in crowds. Yeah. I don't know about you. Maybe you like crowds, but I panic.
Well, let me explain something about crowds. So here's the thing. I look at it this way. Okay, I'll tell you exactly. Since I can't see the crowd, what's going on in the crowd,
right?
It doesn't bother me. You know what I'm saying? Like, would that make sense to you? Like that's how I look at it. Yeah. I can't see the crowds. So
it does. But there were people dressed up as terrorists walking around waving toy guns, and that didn't appeal to me at all.
Toy guns?
Can you believe that?
Really?
Did you hear about that?
No.
Yeah, in the Comic-Con we were on a few weeks ago, there was two kids. They were kids.
The kids.
walking around with black outfits and flak jackets and backpacks, and they had these AK-47 looking guns with the red tips, so everybody knows they're plastic. But I'm like, why are they letting these guys in here and emulating that? And that was enough for me.
Yeah.
I just, I think that is not okay to even let them in dressed like that.
So what are you gonna do? Sorry, go ahead.
What's that?
So what are you gonna do then about the Comic Cons? I mean, wouldn't that make you bored not going to them? Like, would that make you like?
No, I have so much other stuff to do. I got one Comic Con or two a year I've been going to, and it's because it's Gary, and Gary's a friend of mine.
Yeah.
I don't do any other ones. I go to. It is a great way to network, and I've gotten a lot of mileage out of going to them. It's just this last time I did a show, the lighting didn't work. I was so tired from running around as Robin for 8 hours. It did, and then I got COVID from somebody, and I was in bed for 2 weeks, and I'm done. And I have so many other gigs to do. I'm traveling all over the United States and Canada doing shows where you actually get paid. There's nothing wrong with Comic-Con. They just can't do it anymore. Yeah. I made a decision not to.
I was going to ask you, so I don't know, do you know where Tewksbury is?
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you ever do any shows in that area? What shows have coming up? I know Dad said you got Marblehead. My dad said you're doing a show on Marblehead pretty soon.
Well, that's actually a screening of my movie, Being Robin, which I'm focusing on more than live performing, although I do some comedy at the screenings. But yeah, I think we've got a screening coming up I am doing a live show in Manchester, New Hampshire. Mm-hmm. And then we'll have a screening, which is I believe we'll have a film festival. There's a film festival in Manchester. That's the other thing we're doing. I think it's in August. And I also have a Rockport Film Festival. I think it's called International Film Festival. Mm-hmm. And I think we're doing Hyannis. And I think maybe Martha's Vineyard I'm going to do live shows. And I just got to have to do another. There's a lot going on. So the Comic-Con thing, I regret, but I had to make a decision. Mm. And I love them. Believe me, it's a party. It's a festival. Yeah. It's a blast. And the cost is too much.
The cost is too much. So if
emotionally, yeah, it's too high.
Too much. Do you know who Seth MacFarlane is?
Yeah, from Family Guy.
Yeah, I wasn't sure. Yeah, okay, yeah.
You do his impressions?
Oh yeah.
You do his characters?
Oh yeah.
What about Stewie?
Father, Brian, you know that Brian, the ship is unbelievable. You know what else I do too? You know Joe from Family Guy, the cop, Joe.
Yeah.
Hey Quagmire, get over here! I want you to see what I got over here in my loot case.
Wow, you're good.
And also Quagmire, wow. Giggity, hey Joe, what do you do? How are you? Giggity, oh.
Whoa, so you have a great ear.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I've been doing that for a long time. I study voices. I think I study voices more than you do. I hate to say it, but I think I study my voices more than you do. I mean, I don't know if it's a slap, but I feel like
I don't really study. Yeah, I moved past it. Yeah, I hardly do any new characters. I think I'm stuck in an era of. I mean, I don't know how many I do. It's. I don't even think I have the vocal dexterity to do much. And I have to really. If you ask me to do a character, I have to really get into the psychology of it. And although Nick Nolte's right on the tip of my tongue, I know how to do, you mentioned it, and I'm like, oh, okay. And Richard Dreyfuss, but I don't have I don't think, I could do Robert Shaw at the top of my head. Don't just still there, girl. I guess I still have something, but it's not important to me anymore. As much.
Now, here's a question: do you know anybody else that does what you do? Is anybody else that you know of do what you do besides you, like that you're aware of?
Well, do it in what sense? Do what?
Like the Robin character. Like somebody else idolize somebody else like that. Like somebody else that you know of do kind of similar to what you do, like their whole Robin thing.
Oh yeah. There's a couple guys that do Robin. We do it all differently, and I support my other friend who does it. I support him, but I think we all do it differently.
Different ways.
It's really a tough character to pin down because there's so many things. Sometimes he's very introspective, and it's really quite wonderful.
Yeah.
And then other times he's just really manic, and he's up in here, and placing the voice is a whole different thing. Somebody goes, whoa, okay, that's the original Mork thing, yes. But man, there's so much. Oh my God, there's so many things you do, and know what I'm saying. Yeah. There's so many. Oh, geez, it's great. There's so many different ways there's no Robin impression unless he's just on a talk show being pensive. But very rarely is he doing one thing. He's got so many characters. I mean, you know what I'm saying. It's just all over the place.
I have a question about
Robin.
Yeah, I have a question about Robin. Do you think he would have done Comic-Cons?
Would he do Comic-Con?
Yeah, he would have done them.
I have no idea. I have no idea.
Do you think he would have been someone that like? Do you think he would have been do you think he would have enjoyed those things, or do you think he would have been kind of overwhelmed with those, like you were? Do you think he would have been overwhelmed with those kind of things? Do you think? If you had to think about it from
he's done all kinds of things, like USO. I think that's his thing. You know, his thing would be more to. Well, one thing I think he did do was benefits, and I think he was very giving in terms of charities. But in USO, he would travel around to the Middle East and do shows for the soldiers.
Yeah.
Comic-Cons, I think, I don't know. I mean, some celebrities do. I don't think he would have.
No?
I think the reason is because a lot of the actors and so forth who do Comic-Cons are not so active anymore. He was active all the time, and so I really don't think that would have been a madhouse. It's almost like having Trump at a Comic-Con. It would have just been a madhouse. Whether it was good or bad, it would have not been. It would have thrown everything. And I don't think he would have done it. He wouldn't have been advised to do it. I think I was doing it because it was an opportunity to sell my movie and get people familiar with the movie and to do things like meet you and do the podcast, which has been fun.
So you mentioned for a second, I want to go back for a second. You mentioned Trump for a second. All right. I do him too.
Oh, well, let me hear. Tell me what your plans are. How are you going to recapture the presidency, sir?
On day one, on my first legislature, I will fire all FBI informants for the Hunter Biden laptop. And frankly, it is time to say to the people of this country, we will bring back our jobs, bring back our nation, and bring back our borders.
Oh my God, that's scary.
So I actually met him once. Actually, I got to tell you the story.
Did you really?
I met him once. You know what I asked him about? I asked him about Rosie O'Donnell. Yeah, Rosie O'Donnell. Yeah, that was pretty.
What did he say?
He was surprised I knew about it. I had to find it on TV years ago.
He made a lot of noise about it.
Oh yeah, he did. Yes. One more quick thing before I let you go. Do you have a podcast? Would you ever do your own podcast? Like do your own?
No. I have so much going on. To tell you the truth, the one thing I did do, Brian, was something that I tried to get off the ground last year called the Homegrown Peace Forum. And I'd like to take a little time with you to talk about what that is.
Yeah.
I think as somebody with a platform like you have, and I have a stage, and I have some visibility, but not much. I'm very marginally exposed as a person that people know. To start to use my visibility for the good. And I know the movie and the show I do has a humanitarian message, which has to do with love and bringing people together. And in the face of all this hatred that's stirred up worldwide, and starting to think of us as all crew members on this giant ship that is sinking or heading for an iceberg, that we really need to pull together as a crew and rescue, save ourselves, and pitch in and really work together. And from countries all over the world that have to start to put down their differences, and we all know how aggressive this species is. That's why we survived, and the Neanderthals didn't, and the Cro-Magnons didn't, and the Piltdown Man. No, they all didn't survive, but the human beings, Homo sapiens as we are, we survived because we have this aggression. But it's not serving us anymore. It's killing us all. We are our own predators. So it's not the message in my show, but I think at some point I want to turn this into kind of a comedy, but kind of just a statement that says, I have this platform. I love what Jon Stewart does. I emulate him for taking his career and turning it into some good. So I'm not just going to be out here doing impressions and making people laugh. I want to give love and fellowship and humanity in the best way that I know, to be somebody who's deeply against hatred and abuse of each other, abuse of animals, abuse of the planet. that we do not need to do this anymore. We're heading for a real disaster, and we're also heading towards a lack of humanity. And just for example, I know this is a tough business.
Yep.
You asked me to do your show.
Yep.
And I showed up because you asked me and I said I would.
Yep.
Have you ever had somebody said they would and they wouldn't and they didn't show up?
No.
Well, good. Terrible example. Well, I've had a lot of people lately who said they would show up for me and do something as I would do for them, and they didn't. There's a lot of people whose words are no good because they just simply are either too busy or they simply just was trying to please you at the time. And that's what they do. People do not keep their word, and that's a big problem with me. And I no longer expect people to keep their word. If they say they're going to do something, I'm like, okay, yeah, all right. I don't have any expectations of anybody anymore, Brian. We are all struggling. We're all slammed. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't really want to be somebody who's bitter and angry and resentful because people aren't showing up. So simply, I will try to be an example of somebody who does show up.
Mm-hmm.
And then take it from there. But that's why I'm talking about this stuff.
Yeah.
So I'm planning on writing and performing perhaps a 1 hour talk that will maybe even launch a political career. I don't know. But I think I have an overview of how human beings are functioning and what we could do. But anyway, to bring this back, I started something called the Homegrown Peace Forum, which was an open forum that's on a Zoom that people could chime into. I think the most people we had at one point was 12.
Okay.
And, it died off until there were 4 people, and then it turned into group therapy. And I felt like this is not what I had in mind. And the apathy took it down. I just couldn't do it anymore. But if I really campaigned and really put it out there and made a big splash in marketing, they might have done something. But I just think that's not going to be. So that was the closest thing I've ever had
to like a podcast.
To a podcast.
Now,
I could get out there and try it, I guess.
I have a question.
How many people are going to listen? You know?
I have a question. If you ever write a book someday of your life, would you ever do an audio version of your book? Like record an audio? I feel like that would be good for you to do, like something fun to like put an audio.
I'll tell you the truth. I think if I'm going to do something about my life, it won't be a book. It'll be a movie. And I've already done this. Being Robin, the movie is about what happened to me.
To you.
As a result of my connection with Robin Williams. And it is autobiographical. It does have actual footage of me performing and getting possessed by Robin and so forth. And I reenacted some of the events around that. So if I was going to do an autobiography, Richard Pryor did one called JoJo Dance, So Your Life is Calling, and that was really like that. And I just think the movie is my medium. I love to edit. Yeah. I love to create scenes and set up shots. And writing the dialogue is writing, but I improvise. I think improvisation allows you. Well, writing is improvisation, but it's taking your impulses and your thoughts and putting them on paper. So you're improvising, but then you're writing it down, and then you have to repeat it. Yeah. But for me, true acting has more to do with speaking at the moment. A lot of great actors and directors support this. Marlon Brando, for one, Robert De Niro. Improvise what's going on at that very moment. Yeah. This whole conversation is improvised. Yeah.
So before I let you go, I want to say thank you for coming on the podcast, Roger. It's been a great time. And I hope we can keep in touch. I really hope we can.
I will. I will. And I hope you keep in touch. And if we say it, let's do it. And I just want to put it out there that my movie's available on beingrobinthemovie.com.
Now,
let people know that, then I can share this movie of goodwill with people and the love of Robin Williams.
Awesome. Now, is it on DVD at all? You got a DVD?
Yes.
Yeah.
I autograph them and ship them. So if you want an autograph, you go to the DVD, you go to beingrobinthemovie.com. If you just want the link, you can get it on Vimeo, but it's also located there at beingrobinthemovie.com.
All right, great. Well,
and I really appreciate that you're doing this. I'm proud of you, and it's good to know you, man.
Thanks, man. Yeah, man. We'll keep in touch, and maybe I want to see you at a show sometime. I'd love to come see you at a show. And
that would be great.
Now I have a question before they go. At your shows, do you mingle at your shows for a bit too? Like, do you mingle with your fans at your shows? Okay.
After the show, I do sign DVDs and we talk. I don't necessarily do it as Rob. I don't do it as Robin, though.
No.
By then, the second half of the show is me doing other impressions, and I'm just in my plain clothes. We just talk. Like,
All right, cool. Well, thanks, Roger,
you did
again.
a great show. Thank you. And you did
Thanks.
great impressions.
Thanks, man. I appreciate
really
that.
good
Man.
to hear you.
Thanks, man.
Yeah.
I'll talk to you soon.
Okay, take care.
Take care, man.
Okay, bye.
Be good.
You too.